Thank you for making time to be with me on the Just Talk with Rachel. And today we're talking about the space that is normally created when we choose to self-observe. What space are we talking about? The space we are talking about is a space which allows you to choose. Remember that between a stimulus and a response, there is a gap. And that is the gap that your freedom lies. That is the gap where you can choose either to respond or to react. You can only identify this gap when you self-observe. Remember, circumstances or situations that trigger response are beyond your control. We've got no control over what happens to us. We have got no control over what people do to us. We have no control over the environment. However, we are still subjected to situations and circumstances which are beyond our control. What we are therefore saying is, regardless of whatever happens to us, the stimulus, there is a space in between before we can respond. And when you look closely at this space, it is where your freedom, it is where your liberation, it is where your choice lies. How many of us choose to respond? And how many of us find ourselves simply reacting? When have you regretted your reactions? When have you felt bad after acting based on what happened to you? In my coaching practice, I do encounter a lot of people who tell me that, Rachel, I didn't have a choice. I didn't know what I could do at that particular time because I didn't have a choice. My response is self-observe. Because the reason why you feel you did not have a choice is because you did not allow yourself to be in that particular space. You did not allow yourself to charge neutral, to remain non-judgmental, to breathe in before reacting. More often, people feel that they are victims of what happens to them. People feel that they are victims of their environment, circumstances, and things that are said about them. Remember this, you cannot control what happens to you. You cannot control how other people behave. However, you can observe yourself as to what you tend to do, as to how you think. Because your behavior is a function of your emotions and feelings. And your emotions and feelings are a function of your thoughts. And your thoughts are a function of your beliefs. And your beliefs are a function of your repeated thoughts, which you believe about yourself. What do you normally think when you are triggered? What is it that you interpret the situation to be when you are facing a situation? The moment you start evaluating your thoughts, that is the time you will then choose to remain in the gap. You will then choose to be free from your actions. You will then choose to respond rather than to react. Though we know that we can choose not to be victims, research shows that 99% of people find themselves reacting to any situation they are confronted with without choosing to observe, without choosing to react when they want to, when the situation is appropriate according to themselves. What does it mean? It basically means that most of us, we allow situation to control us. We allow people to trigger us. We allow people to trigger the behaviors which we will regret afterwards. We allow people to become our managers. We allow people to become a priority in terms of how we feel. Because the interpretation that you are going to place on the situation will trigger the emotion, which will in turn trigger the behavior. And with that behavior, we will have the results that we currently have in our life. It all started with our thoughts. Since a very early age in life, we start adopting behavioral patterns, which then get imprinted in our subconscious brain. And once these behavioral patterns are inscripted in our subconscious part of the brain, that behavior becomes automatic. That behavior becomes a default behavior. We do not even think twice. That is why other people find it difficult to self-observe, but rather find themselves always responding to situations as they happen. It's because they simply go to the default, which is imprinted in their subconscious brain. And whenever we default to the imprinted way of behaving, which is in our subconscious part of the brain, we simply get onto autopilot. What then is autopilot? Well, in the next episode, let's look closely at what exactly autopilot means. Well, thank you very much for spending time with me. If you have not done so, please subscribe so that you can be part of this very exciting conversations. Please comment below as to how you feel about this discussion, how you feel about choosing your responses as opposed to becoming a victim of circumstances. Remember to tune in the next episode where we then talk about autopilot. Thank you for watching.